So with the launch of the Midnight expansion, everybody's looking for ways to level up their alts much more quickly. After you've gone through and completed and enjoyed the main campaign on your main character, you're just looking to get your alts to max level as quickly as possible to get into the end game. And if that's you, this farm is what you're going to want to be doing right now. This farm is so incredibly strong. It is probably going to be nerfed based upon how much experience it gives. The amount of experience, depending on how strong your character is, can be like 9 to 10% of a level in like 2 to 3 minutes. And this farm is going to be in a delve, so it's infinitely repeatable and easily reset. Now, a small disclaimer with the numbers I just went over, I have been running this as a tank. You are grouping up dozens and dozens of enemies with a good chunk of elites in there. So being a tank, you're much more easily able to group up all of these enemies. Now, you are going to be farming this on a tier 1 delve, and the enemies in delves right now are actually generally much weaker than in the open world scale to your level. So even these elites in here are much weaker than open world elites. So for certain DPS, you can probably do this in the same way, but for some DPS that maybe aren't as good as this, you may not be able to do all of this in one pool, so the runs may be a bit longer. I'm also going to be looking into a modified version of this farm, more specifically for DPS, because a lot of the experience you get from here is from those elites, and there may be a way to just pull the elites and do it a bit more efficiently for DPS specifically. Now, first things first, this is going to specifically be for alts because you have to go complete all of the main campaign mission and chapters on your main character, because on new characters, you want them to be in adventure mode, which will allow them to go to all of the different zones right when they get into the new expansion, because you are going to be going to Voidstorm, which normally on new characters you wouldn't have unlocked until you've completed everything. So once you've gotten to the Voidstorm, you're going to be going to the Shadow Guard Point Delve, which is on the left side of the map. And this specific farm is in the Calamitous story variant of this delve. Keep in mind, delve stories rotate, and there are 3 of them for this delve. So on some days you come here to farm, this variant may not be up, but once those other variants are up, I'm going to try those and see if those have similar farms. Because sometimes in different story variants of the same delves, the delves are similar enough to where a farm like this could still work. And make sure you're doing this on tier 1, and make sure to put Valera on healer. She will auto track heals to you, which can help. And Valera isn't going to be doing much damage right now because you can't really level her up a ton. And she will also take aggro less because on DPS, sometimes she pulls enemies away as you're pulling them around. So just keep her on healer. I think she does more that way. But as you'll see in the footage, pretty much all you're going to be doing is grouping up all of the enemies in this first area. There's this first small area in front of you. Then you have to go up these stairs. Make sure to not hit the little arcane barrier. It will stun you. So go around that. You're going to group up all the enemies in this next area, and then you're just going to AoE them all down. Once they're all dead, make sure to loot them. You can actually make a good amount of gold looting all of this. And then you're just going to right click your character portrait, click leave delve. That'll take you outside the delve. You don't have to reset dungeon or anything like that. You're just going to walk back in, restart it, rinse and repeat. You'll see the route in the video. It is very easy. And after you get the route down, it's really about just optimizing your AoE DPS, more specifically your AoE burst, to be able to kill these enemies as quickly as possible. Because the faster you can clear out all of these enemies, the faster you can leave, reset, and come back in. The more optimal you can be on your runs, the more experience you're going to be getting, because like I mentioned, you're getting around 9 to 10% experience per run of this. And it should stay somewhat similar because the enemies do scale with you. But obviously, as you keep getting higher and higher levels, depending on how the scaling is working and depending on how strong your specific specs talents are, you may end up getting weaker compared to these, so it may slow down a little bit. But the 9 to 10% experience per run should stay about the same. And I would definitely recommend you change up your talents to try to be more optimal. Keep trying to change them up as you're doing this run and testing and seeing what works better, because there's definitely some talents that you probably wouldn't normally use that's super good for this. Like running this on some of the characters I've been running it on, having some talents that aren't very good in general, but could potentially be really good because there's so many enemies here and could just potentially be good for better burst, has caused me to legitimately change up quite a lot of talents in all 3 of my trees while doing this. Also, test out the different hero talents, especially especially if you're going to be leveling fully through this, because some hero talents can completely change how fast you can actually defeat this. Some of the combinations now with different amounts of bursts and different abilities they give you can just legitimately go from taking like 3 minutes a run to 2 minutes a run, just because of the insane amount of difference that hero talents can have, especially in a farm like this where you're grouping up dozens and dozens of enemies at a time and trying to burst them down all very quickly. But that is legitimately the entirety of this farm. If you want to go get some consumables, like some potions, elixirs, food buffs, things like that, you can go get those. Those will give you some increased power. And since you're leveling up new characters, you can just use last expansion's consumables once you're lower levels, and those will still give you quite a lot of stat increases to make it go even faster. And now those will all be worth like a couple gold apiece. So you'll get them for basically nothing. But this farm is seeming to be potentially the best experience farm currently. The experience here is absolutely ridiculous, but I've not tested doing this with groups. I'm not sure if doing this with other players is going to be good or not, especially if you're trying to level up a character that's not a tank. But also make sure to subscribe. I'm going to be doing another video of how to do this farm as a DPS that maybe won't be able to survive pulling everything you pull on a tank. But that's all I want to go over, so thanks for watching.
I don't think so. Speak no more. I'm out. Thank you. Be quiet. Be quicker next time. I don't think so. Be quiet. I don't think so. Now strike! My loyalty